Hey everyone, we're here today to look at another mod. This is for a Fun House pinball machine made by Williams. Designer was Pat Lawler. And basically what this is called, it's called the Marquee Motion Mod. And what it does is that on the back of the translate of Fun House, it has that Fun House logo that's at the very top of the translate. And it looks like if you look at the Fun House logo, even if you look at this design here, this is just a black and white like template kind of, but there's dots, like holes in that, or circles I should say, that are in that Fun House logo that's on the back of that translate, and they look like lights, you know, but it's painted, so you don't really get that idea that they actually work, but you want to get the idea that they're lights, like an old-time light from, you know, back in the circus era and stuff like that. But what this mod does, it actually makes this actually work and has different patterns of lighting effects for that logo in the back of the Fun House logo on the translate. So it looks really cool. He has a demo online, a video. Brandon is his name, and he's from a company called Arcade Upkeep, and that's who actually creates this mod. And so again, we're going to take a quick look before we install it into the pinball machine. But let's move this stuff out of the way. But I just kind of wanted to show the presentation of this, and I like the mods as much as I like the way that they're presented or the way that they're shipped to you. And he does a great job, Brandon, in the way that the shipping was of this mod as well. And again, it comes with this template of the Fun House logo here. It has a operating instructions, like how it actually works, installation instructions, like printouts, well done with images and stuff like that, and a laminated card that you could put into your game, your cabinet, for the different patterns and how to get to the different patterns of the lighting effects of the mod. So again, really classy, really really well done. He put a lot of thought not only into the mod but the way that it's presented, and I always kind of appreciate that, as well as many other people I would hope do. The time and effort that goes into presentations and stuff like that of videos, or just the way it's packaged. So again, this is how it's packaged in the box. It's very protected, the mod, you know, with all this foam and stuff like that. So let's remove this one side of the foam, the top part, and this is the actual mod. And as you can see, there's different components of this mod. And let's start with the main component of this mod, and it's the board that's right here. And again, it's upside down to keep it protected in delivery, but you can see everything's cut out. It's like fits in there really well. So this is the board of the actual lighting effect for that translate. And you can see that the LEDs are shaped like the Fun House logo on the back of the translate. And so what this board is, there's little screw holes in here. And basically you screw this, and in that era of pinball machine, of Fun House and Addams Family and Twilight Zone, there was a door that would swing open instead of that tub that was later on with Attack from Mars and Monster Bash and Medieval Madness and all that. They had that plastic tub. But you remove the LEDs at one part of where that Fun House, where this would kind of fit for the translate, and then this screws behind that to kind of take the place of those LEDs. I think there's like 6 of them, and this takes the place of that area. So again, it's the lighting thing, and then you have other components to this mod as well. And you have this button menu thing here, like this. This plugs into J107, I think it is, on Fun House. And these buttons actually select the different menus of what this LED, the lighting effects, do. So that's one part of it for this cabling. These alligator clips plug into this as well, and they go into the transistors of the different Q transistors on the back board, which is in the back box, you know, like the motherboard or main board of Fun House. And then this actually plugs into one of the ports on this as well, one of the pin connectors here. I think this is an adapter here to, if you have anything plugged already into J107, you could plug this additionally into the board on the back of your pinball machine. These foam pieces fit on the back of this board, so when you screw this into your back box or the board of, you know, the door that swings open, you put the foam on the back of this board, and it kind of gives it more, you know, where you screw, if you let the tension out of some of these screws by loosening them up, the foam will actually push it farther and nearer to the actual translate of the pinball machine. So that's what I think those foam pieces actually kind of do so much with the actual board here. So let's kind of put this back the way it was till we go to install it. And then these pieces here, you have some screws that come with the kit, some Velcro to temporarily hold that in place, that board, as you position it to get your proper position before you screw it into the back door of the pinball machine. So again, we're going to go through the install, kind of show you how it's installed, and then go through the actual different patterns of this mod, of how this game or this board actually works and how it interacts with the game itself. But you know, Brandon put a lot of time into this, as you could see, just to position the lighting and the LEDs, just getting the board, I guess, put together the way that he wanted it. You know, making this whole menu feature for the mod, stuff like that. So a lot of time seems like went into this, and he told me that a lot of prototypes went into this. I kind of had a couple of emails to interact with him just to kind of question a little bit about the mod. But it seems like a lot of time went into this mod, and you know, the price is a little bit steeper, but again, I think you're paying because of so much time and money that goes into this, like to make this board. You know, if you make 30 boards, you know, I'm sure it's not cheap. I'm sure, you know, there's some cost that goes to it, and to make this whole thing. You know, people forget about the time and effort that goes into these items, and that's why the cost is a bit higher at times than just a piece of plastic that you make on a 3D printer at times. You know, the cost that goes into these mods could be a little steep. So let's get to the install. Enough of me blabbing, and see how it looks and see how it actually installs. Okay, so here we are looking at the Fun House pinball machine without the translate, and this is the door I was speaking about in the prior video part, where the translate comes out and then you see the bowls behind the translate, and that's kind of what gives the lighting to your translate on the game. So there's I think like 8 bulbs that need to come out. This flasher stays in, and it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up on the top, 7, 8 at the far right hand side. So the far right hand side of that board, those 3 stay in, and the board fits something. I mean, I have to kind of get it properly and all that, but the board kind of does something like this, I would think, where the flasher goes into, I know my hand's kind of in the way. Let's see. So if it goes like that, so that flasher goes where that big circle is at the far left hand side, and the board kind of fits over those sockets where the bulbs would go. So that's kind of the positioning of the board. So again, you kind of got to position it properly, but that's just a quick look at how this board would go into this back of this translate. So let's take a look. I think in the kit it comes with that Velcro, and that's kind of just a temporary positioning. You're supposed to draw pencil holes in the board to actually get your screws in there and do your pilot holes and stuff like that, screw this board down and properly. So let's take a look. Let's take the board off, go put this up with Velcro, fit the translate over it, and see if everything is in proper positioning to this board. Okay, so now the install is done, and I just kind of wanted to go over some of the steps of what I did to install this board into this wooden door in the back of the translite over here, you know, where the LEDs are. You know, let's just kind of scroll down. So I'm holding the camera, so it's easier for me to kind of scroll around and look, you know, closely at the components of what we installed. So this is the board itself, the mod, like we talked about in the beginning of the video. And again, you got to position this like so where your translite kind of falls with the little lights in the translite. These individual LEDs blink behind that board, or a translite, I should say, that make it look like that it lights up. And these, you know, you can move these around. I had to bend many of them to get it in position of where it should fall behind the translite. So you're going to have to do that. And you're going to have to position this board itself in a good location of where that translite falls as well. So there's like 4 screws you screw in here. There's like 1, 2, there's 1 in the middle, and there's 2 on each, so there's like 5. In the board. So I just did a pilot hole with the drill, screwed the screw in with the drill hole, you know, that I made, and then put the board in. The wiring is right there, power wire at the far right, the middle wire there, they go to the transistors on your board in back of the translite. We'll look at that in a minute, that power the game. And also the one to the left, that's a little like control panel that runs to your coin door that goes through the cabinet, and that goes through, you know, all the way through your back box. I didn't run it yet, but I'm going to. It goes through the cabinet, and then it goes, like I said, back to your coin door so you can manipulate it and, you know, set the LEDs to how you want it to work with the game. So that's kind of the premises of this whole board and that menu and that little control panel, stuff like that. So let's just take a look. Let's go farther down into the back box over here, into the board itself, and just see where everything plugs into. Okay, so that one cable that we were looking at, where the power goes, that goes right here to J117. So if anything is in that now, there's a splitter board that is provided by the company that whatever is in J117 as of now would plug into this board, and then this board plugs into that little J117 connection on the back box here on the motherboard itself, and that's how you kind of split the cables. So you're not, you know, losing anything by plugging into this board. So the actual mod is getting power, and your connector could still go into that board itself. So it's always great when companies provide splitters of some sort in case you already have a connection in place of where you have to plug a new mod into. So let's look at the transistors here. So there's 5 of them, or 6 of them. 6. So each one plugs into a different transistor here on the board, and they're numbered in the instruction manual of what goes where. So like, what's this, 2, that goes to Q20, 3 goes to Q24, 4 goes to Q34, 5 goes to Q32, 1 goes to Q46, and the last one, 6, goes to Q42. Did I say that already? I don't think so. So it's kind of how they all kind of connect, and I guess they kind of interact with the game to make the lights flash and do what it's going to do and stuff like that. So that's where all these little wires go, and then they run back up to, again, to that board. It's all the way up there at the top. But in the instruction manual, this cable here with the connector, from what they're saying, is it should go, let's kind of go to this side of the door. There's the hinge over here that it should go behind here and kind of wrap around and go up, you know, back to the board. But I don't have enough wire to do that. That wire would snag. So I can't do that. So let's zoom out a little bit here. So that's all the slack of the wire I get. If I try to run that around that and back up, that will not reach. So I'm going to leave it that way. I did a couple wire ties up here in the middle of the door over there. So I'm going to do this one last. I just want to make sure I get placement of everything, you know, before, because I have to run that in the cabinet. So I want to make sure I get placement of where that cable should go before I start tying it down. So I tried to put everything behind this hinge over here on this door. I put the green one and the gray one for power. But again, I didn't put the multi one that plugs to the resistors or transistors on that board, the Q resistors or transistors chips, because again, that wire would not reach if I tried to run it all the way from the left here up to the middle of that board of the mod. So there's definitely not enough cable. The install, it was easy. There's not much to do to install it, but getting the placement and, you know, maneuvering your LEDs, it's going to take a little time. That's definitely how it's going to work. So I wouldn't say it's the easiest mod I've ever installed, but it's time consuming, but it's not hard, if that makes any sense. So it's the, you know, I would say on a skill level of to install this, it's not, again, not really hard. You just kind of have to put your board in place, kind of, you know, either indicate it with the screw holes that are in the board with a pencil, or just kind of draw a line around the outer of it, you know, and kind of get it in place top to bottom and left to right, and then just screw it in, and, you know, then you're good to go. But it's getting that board in place, because you got to kind of be dead on. It's got to be, you don't have much wiggle room, you know, to kind of be off. So it's, you have to be, again, precise to get that board in place of where it goes behind the translite. So again, looks cool. Let's kind of take a look at it turned on and without the translite behind it first, and then we'll check it out with the translite. Okay, so here's the board. We're going to turn it on and take a look at see how it works with, like I said, the translite not covering it, and we're just going to see how the LEDs flash on the board and stuff. And this is going to be, I believe, in the default mode of how the board comes with the lights, the way they flash and stuff like that, the programmable mode already. And this is the little menu buttons that is going to run to the front of the coiner where you would program that actual board. So that's the green wire that's plugged into the board. So let's take a look at this board. Let me turn the lights off. Okay, so here is the board without the translate in front of it. Again, this is in the default mode of the lighting, and you can see it, you know, going through its little show here with the lights of the different things that it does, like the twinkle and the I guess I don't even know what the different modes would be called, but they're kind of cool. It's like a chase pattern and like a flashing pattern and a twinkle pattern. So this just like lights the individual letters out with the line under it and kind of goes back and forth, you know, with the different lighting. So it's kind of that. Kind of cool. It's really cool, you know, like the way that it works. And again, it looks like that Brandon put a lot of time into this mod, and it kind of shows, you know, with just the programming and also the structure of the board. You got to watch too when you put your translate in and out that you don't whack these lights. It sticks far enough behind the translate so you don't do it, but you have to be careful because you can whack the lights with this. You know, when you're putting your translate in and out, they do stick out off the board a bit, you know, so you could kind of bend them a little bit, but you just got to be careful. And when you're screwing that board down, do not over tighten that board. You don't want to crack the board as you're putting it in. And also screw it in different areas as you go. Do not screw one area down all the way and then, you know, go and do another area. Like kind of screw them as you go so the board's equal, you know, pressure on the board as you're tightening it down. So let me get the translate. Let me put the translate in. We'll take a look at it with the translate in the game. Okay, so now we're looking at the translate, the regular translate, I should say, not the lenticular, of the Fun House with the lighted mod inside. And you could see, like the marquee, how it lights up with the lighted mod. And basically, that's the default pattern that's set right now for it to light like that. And it kind of goes through its own, like, you know, series of lighting effects for the Fun House. You know how now you can see how the H and the, you know, fun is like building up, and then I'll go through like another pattern So it's kind of cool because it kind of shows, you know, just the different patterns that this mod kind of has in it to do this lighting effects for that Fun House Marquee like that. And just so people are aware, this version of the mod is the more expensive one. This is like the $350 one or whatever it is. There's two versions of this mod. One mod I think has less variations of effects, and the other more expensive one has more effects built in, I think. It says on the website, I think, but I think that's some of the things. But also too, it's, you know, when you have a translate in your game like this, just a little shift even, because like, you know, the translate's not completely tight in here. So I take this translate and I just shift it over like this to the right. Like you can see things are off. So it doesn't take much for this thing to be off, you know. So if I just click it to the left more, you know, the lighting is better because now that's how I have the bulbs kind of set up, you know, in the back of the translate for this translate of Funhouse. So it doesn't take much to really offset, you know, a bulb or two. But I have my bulbs fairly close to where they should be. There might be one or two in there that's a little bit off, but I can't get them all perfect. But it looks great. It's a great mod. It's just really adds a lot to the game. It looks really cool. Again, it's like a color DMD. Like, so when you're playing the game, you don't really see it because you're too busy looking at the playfield. But other people, you know, looking at the game, and if you're into mods and you're caring about how your games look, I think it's a great mod. Again, Brandon put a lot of time into this mod, and it really shows. It's really cool, you know, just the idea to do this. So, okay, so here we are looking at the mod again, and what we're going to do is show how to select like items within the menu of this mod. And I have in my hand like a 4-button. It's basically like a little motherboard type of thing with 4 buttons on it, and it consists of a menu, up, down, and an enter button on it. And there's different ways to access this mod with the different letters in Funhouse to do different things within this mod. And I'm going to try to, you know, show you as much as I know about this mod as well. I haven't really played a lot with this, but from what I could gather, if I hit the menu button, you'll see how it turns like red or pink, the Funhouse. So now you're in the menu mode of this mod. And then you select the different letters by hitting the down button on the actual board that I have here with the 4 buttons. You can see like things are turning colors. So like you can see if I go to the H, it's green, the O is red, the U is, there's nothing, S is red. That means either the mod is on that, from that selected letter is turned on or off. Green is on, red is off. But there's different things that the different letters do, like the F, that's the GI settings within this mod. So if you look at the back glass here, or the translate, if I'm on the F, and then I hold like the up button, you can see how it turns like, I gotta hit enter. Oh wait, menu, and then if I hit the enter button, you can see how it turns like green, blue. So like if I hit the up button, that turns it red. And then if I hit the down button, that turns it green. Like the back, you're looking at the back of the Funhouse, like the logo, how it turns like different colors. So it's green now. Now it's red. And now it's blue. So the buttons change them different colors in the back of the actual marquee of Funhouse. So that's the one, that's what the F does. The U, that's motion max brightness. So if I hit up, you can see how it turns like brighter. The whole, like, you know, all the lights within the back of that fun house. Now if I hit down, it should make the lights dimmer. So you can see how they turn bright and dim. So that's what the U letter does. So now if I go to the N is the motion minimum brightness. So if I go and hit, you know, the up and down buttons, you can see how now it's getting dimmer, but now it's getting brighter. So this is, I guess, how dim the lights go when you're in the actual lighting mods and stuff like that, the lighting variations of the mod. So that's what the N does. The H, that's the interactive motion features. So I think that either, so now that's on. So if I hit the, so if I hit the down button, or I'm sorry, the enter button, that turns it on and off. So you can see it's red and then it's green. So that's what the interactive motion feature does. I think that, I don't know if that somehow works with the actual game. It says, the motion features are the game interactive features that the title LEDs do with the gameplay. If you turn this off and the GI flasher is setting off, the board will continue to do the patterns you have set, whether it's in a game or not. Oh, so it does interact with the game when you have this turned on. If it's off, then it kind of just goes through its you know, usual way that it kind of does it when it's like in attract mode, I guess. I guess that's kind of what it's trying to say, I think. So the O, it's interactive GI flashers. And again, now it's turned off, but I could turn that on with the enter button. So that's off, and then it's on. And that one, yeah, that interacts, I believe, with the game as well, somehow, I think. Yeah, so that interacts with the game as well, so you could have that on. Right now it's on, so it will interact with the game, but if I have it off, it won't. It'll kind of just go into attract mode and just do what it's doing usually. Twinkle pattern selection, this is where now, when you're in the U mode, or the U letter on Fun House here, if you hit the enter key, you see how the F now is blinking. Now this is twinkle pattern, and now this goes through all the patterns. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like 8 or 9 twinkle patterns within the mod of this selection of board that I have. So now you could turn these things on or off for the difference. So this will be twinkle pattern 1. So again, if I hit the enter key, I could turn that on and off. So I'll leave it on. Now I go to the U. This is fill to flash pattern. So I could turn this on and off. So now it's on. And again, these are the different patterns that the light things do, like in the beginning when it's in the attract mode I was showing you in the beginning. This is chase to fill pattern is the N. And I could turn that on and off with the enter key. And I'm using the up and down buttons on the actual control panel here to go through the different letters. So now in H, that's the Williams fill pattern. So again, I can turn that on and off. The O, and that's the twinkle pattern 2. Turn it on and off. And then the U, that's the back and forth pattern. Turn it on and off. And again, all these modes are shown again in the videos that I was showing you in the beginning. This is random dimming pattern. We can turn that on and off. And then the E, it's photo flash pattern, so we can turn that on and off. So again, there's different patterns of what it does. So that's how you go through the modes of the menu of this mod. You use a little control panel that's set up within, you know, that the company set up here that runs from the back of that mod to your coin box, and you could change whatever you want in the mod. Really cool. Again, a lot of time I think has been put into this mod, you know, just to kind of tweak it and make it what it is. It's really cool. So again, let's look at some gameplay within this mod and the game and see how everything works. Okay, so also one other thing when you're in this mode and you're looking at the different patterns, we're going to look at a couple, but when you're in this mode where you're going to select the different pattern menus, you know, with the different letters. So when we're in the S, this activate, or I'm sorry, the U. Let's get to the U. So this activates the other patterns, you know, within the mode or within the mod here. So if I now highlight that pattern, so now if I hold, I'm on the H, so now if I hold the enter key in, it previews the actual mode of what this is. So H is going to be Williams fill pattern. So that's what that's showing you. So if we go to the N and I hold the enter key, now that's going to be the fill to flash pattern, what it's showing you. So again, as you're putting this on, you know, and selecting your different patterns, you could preview the pattern as you're kind of going through it to see if that's what you want turned on or not. The U, as we said before, this is the fill to flash pattern. So if I hold the enter key, now this is the fill to flash pattern that is previewing for you. And then the F would be the twinkle pattern. Then we'll go to that next once this mode is done, like showing you the preview. If I could go the right way. So now I'm going to, again, go to the F, hold the enter key in, and that's going to show you that pattern as well, and that is the twinkle pattern. So it's kind of cool. You get a preview at least of what pattern you're looking at as you're enabling it on the mod while you're kind of programming it.
I'm watching you. I'm watching you. What's that gotcha, Monkey? Just one time. The door's open, Monkey. Yum, yum. You can have it back, Monkey. That was no accident. This is a bad door. Let's play pool. I feel like a million. Hey, Spunky, play again. Hey, Spit. Fun House. I feel like